You're watching Access LaPorte County, Channel 97. Coming up next is the October 11th meeting of the Michigan City Water Works Board. You can find more information for this meeting at www.accesslaportecounty.org.
Meeting to order. Approval of the corrected minutes from the meeting held September 13th.
I'll make a motion to approve the corrected minutes of the meeting held September 13th, 2022.
I'll second it.
Motion second that we approve the corrected minutes from September 13th. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Approval of the minutes of the previous meeting held September 22nd.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of the previous meeting held September 27, 2022.
I'll second it.
Motion second that we approve the minutes of the meeting held September 22nd. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Purchase order.
Okay.
Got a few of them.
Yeah, attached is the list of purchase orders. There were 10 purchase orders. First is to Ferguson. This is pipe for the double track project. We needed to have some pipe out there for that. $6,695.12. The second is also to Ferguson. This is a separate purchase though. Sleeves and valves for stock for $24,829.32. The third is to Ferguson, sleeve and valve for the Buffalo Wild Wings. This is the service tap. So this is confirming for $1,865. They pay us to do the tap, so they've already paid their portion. Ferguson 6-inch pipe for stock for $4,950. H&G Underground Utilities. This is part of the Kemmel Beach installation for $17,550. The previous purchase order was short by about 550 feet, and this is the balance of it. It was a mistake missed by the contractor and myself. This amount plus the other amount is what they were originally quoting us anyway on the project when we were putting it together. Number 6 is to Software Solutions. This is the annual contract for hardware maintenance for $1,613.50. Number 7 is to Midwest Meter pits for stock, $3,324.10. Number 8 is Midwest Meter. These are transponders for stock, $4,281.60. Number 9 is to Gasvoda. This is spare parts for our chlorine analyzers, $3,541. We do annual replacement of a large number of replacement parts on those as part of maintaining the system. And then the last one is to Midwest Meter. This is meters and transponders for stock for $17,920.80.
Any questions or comments on the purchase orders?
I'll make a motion to approve the list of purchase orders dated 10/11/2022.
I'll second it.
Motion second that we approve the purchase orders dated October 11th. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Claims.
I make a motion to approve the list of claims dated October 11, 2022.
I'll second it.
Motion second that we approve the claims dated October 11th. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Financial statement, no, bad debt list, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the bad debt list for bookkeeping purposes only dated October 11th.
I'll second that too.
Great.
Motion second, we approve the bad debt list dated October 11th for bookkeeping purposes only. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, welcome back, Chris.
Welcome back.
Welcome back, Chris. Thank you.
Hi, Chris.
Okay, we'll just go through our cash flow real quick on page 2. Had a good month. We took in $1,057,796. for the month, and we spent $522,929, not counting our monthly transfers. We also spent $50,808 for inventory items and $1,580 for some capital items. There were 2 transfers to the redemption fund this month, so you'll see it's a $225,400 instead of normal half, because it was missed in June. So it left us with an ending month, cash for the month of $733,292. Now on page 3, we were a little bit over on our distribution line under the expense section. We bought quite a bit of pipe from Ferguson, and we also had some truck repairs that fell in there. And our general section is a little bit high. We bought quite a few envelopes and got some stuffers for some items to include with the bills. Left us with a net income for the month of $169,385. And for the year-to-date, our income is $52,823. On page 4, our materials and supplies line is elevated. That's where our pipe and our pipe went into that line, and our transportation expense is a little bit over. That's where our truck repairs line. So other than those items, that's actually all I've got. If you have any questions.
Any questions on the financials for Chris? Anybody like to make a motion to,
I'll make a motion to approve the financial statement July 2022 by Chris Wolf.
I'll second it.
motion second to approve the financials as presented for the period ending July 31st. Any additional discussion? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. All right, old business.
Under old business, I sent a notice out with some information to everybody on Friday. So the EPA has updated the lead and copper rule, and one of the changes in that lead and copper rule is going to involve the process by which we change out service lines that may have lead in them. I want to preface this whole discussion that the department has always conducted lead and copper tests and always been below the federal guidelines for those test results. So we don't have an issue. But what we'd like to do is be proactive on knowing that these rules are going to change. It's going to throw a lot of extra work our direction involving this. So my thought is that I'd like to try and move forward a little faster on this. So I wanted to have some discussion now because we are getting to a time where we're going to start discussing our budget for the next year. And if we intend to spend some extra money to accelerate our program, obviously we want to build that into the budget for next year, the business plan, I should say. So right now we're in the neighborhood. Well, we have less than 1,490 service lines that have lead goosenecks on them. This was a standard practice back in the old days when water lines were made out of galvanized pipe. Galvanized pipe doesn't have any flexibility to it, so the lead goosenecks allowed some flexibility to hook up the rigid pipe to the water main. We do know where all of those are, and so we've been going through and removing them. Just basically, we have the old meter reading books and the routes for meter reading, and we use that. So we're just marching through those as we go through and replacing what needs to be replaced, and then updating our records and making sure that we have current accurate records. In April of 21, a question had come from the city council because they started discussions about the ARPA funding. there had been some interest in trying to use some money from that towards this project, towards accelerating lead service replacements. At this point in time, I don't have any intention of using any funds from that. However, if the city council did decide to do something along those lines, we'd obviously be interested in entertaining it. But to accelerate this, there's a couple different options. The first option is that we would use our own personnel, but in order to do that, we'd really have to have a dedicated crew to doing this. And I think in order to do that, we'd have to get 3 additional persons in our distribution group as a full-time crew. All they do is replace these service lines. And then we would pull in another crew when they were available, not fixing main breaks or installing mains or doing other work, to replace services too. So they would be helping to meet the goal. Obviously, we don't have all of the equipment to have 3 crews, so we'd have to purchase at least maybe perhaps a mini excavator and a dump and a like a 1-ton dump truck or something that we could move around and just have this crew doing this job. So these are some really rough estimates I threw together in this note, estimating that if we could get this done in 2 years with our personnel, it'd be about 1.6 million. Now, one of the things that we do also have coming up is we do have quite a few folks that are getting closer to retirement in our department. So in the next couple of years, when those folks are retiring, we wouldn't have to worry about having extra personnel once we get past this project, because we could just allow attrition to take place and just not replace the folks that retired, and go back down to the numbers we are today. So it's kind of actually works to our benefit, because now we have people that are actually trained in there. We're not having to hire a bunch of people to backfill empty spaces. Well, another option is we could use a contractor. Contractor is going to be significantly more money on the labor side than with what our personnel would be. This number is a rough estimate. I've not spoken to a contractor to get a quoted amount. This is based on my knowledge of what we have and what it would take and what we've paid for other work that we've paid a contractor for similar to this. So this is just something I wanted to bring to your attention. Obviously, I think this is going to need some further discussion. Obviously, I'm open to any ideas or thoughts on it, questions. And then, if as we go into our business plan process, obviously, I'd like to consider doing something along this line and getting some more firm numbers to present for that.
If you remember, the contractor would be 3 years to do the project?
I forgot to change that to a 2.
Oh, okay, so it's the same, it's comparable.
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
Originally, I made this chart when I provided information back in April, and I used the same chart, and I made a mistake in not changing.
I just want to make sure that
too.
it's the same.
It's just a
comparable.
typo.
Yeah,
That's
okay.
correct.
So you're saying it's going to take approximately 2 years to complete it?
That would be the intention of this, is to accelerate the project to get it done in 2 years.
There any mandates as far as time goes?
Not for us. We do not have any issues because we've always tested okay. When the new testing requirements come into play, there will be changes to how we sample. And is there a possibility that we could have a sample that does not pass? That is a possibility. Our intention within the next couple of months is to actually use the protocol and try a couple sites and give this a shot and see what happens when we sample that way, to see if there is actually a concern going forward. But The actual requirements, the new methods of testing, all of that stuff actually doesn't come into play until 2 years from now.
And how difficult is it to hire these guys? They need CDLs?
We're usually doing pretty good to get laborers in. I mean, right now we have 2 positions open, but we have several strong candidates we're looking at. So we're moving forward on that. The first focus I had was we had an operator leave, and we also had a maintenance person transfer out of the department. So we're actually working on filling those 2 first, and then fill the labor positions.
Right. And also keep in mind with that almost $238,000 of equipment we get to keep when we're done with the project.
Right, it's equipment that's,
So that's something, so.
Should we actually stockpile or start to stockpile a certain amount of materials, because this stuff has to be done anyway?
well, we are ordering ahead anyway right now just because of the shortages that are out there.
But make the order now so it'll be available when we need it.
Yeah, exactly.
Is it-
That's part of the reason why we've had so many of these purchase orders over the last few months, is because we're trying to stay ahead and have inventory on hand. And if we order material today, some of the brass items could take 6, 7, 8 weeks. We don't know. It's,
Excellent.
And we don't know if we'll get any ARPA funds for this.
at this point in time, I'm looking at this as all of the effort and all the financing of this coming through the department's revenue stream and the funds that we have on hand for this purpose. If the city council were to decide to do something, then obviously we'd entertain that, if they're willing to help support it, but I'm not counting on that. I'm looking at it from our department's perspective. Can we do this ourselves?
This material and effort and repairs all is an EPA requirement, federal requirement, correct?
Well, we're not required to replace all these. At this point in time, all of our testing has shown that we don't have an issue. If you have an issue, then you have to do replacements. We're at the point right now, we do not have an issue, so we're not being required to do it. But we don't know that that's always going to stay that way, so rather than wait and find out we have a problem,
Instead of
Wanna
looking
be-
forward to a more stringent requirement,
try to get out ahead of it and get rid of these, and then that saves us a lot of hassle in the future.
excellent.
These are primarily in the older parts of town.
Yeah, it looks like, based on the records I've been looking at, it looks like sometime in the late 40s, early 50s, the department moved away from using lead for those goosenecks and they started using copper tubing for those, flexible copper tubing. And then the department went to full copper services not long after that and stopped using galvanized for new services. I don't know the exact dates on that. So we're actually in a lot better shape than some other communities in this part of the country where they have requirements to put lead services in, both on the department side and the customer side, all the way up until the late 60s, when basically the federal government finally said, no, you don't do that anymore.
Now, how are all these federal funds allocated? We got ARPA, we had the infrastructure bill, we had the inflation reduction.
Right, so almost all the money ends up going through the Indiana Finance Authority, with the exception of the ARPA money that's being handled by the city. So the decision on how the ARPA money is spent is up to the city to decide. Infrastructure, water, sewer, telecommunications are all specifically identified in the ARPA rule that projects in our realm are acceptable, and there's really not a lot of restriction on what can be done. when you start getting into the other types of programs for that money, then the financing, then the paperwork trail becomes a lot more stringent and a lot more information is required, so it gets more difficult. When it comes to some of the other infrastructure bills, the money goes to the state. The Indiana Finance Authority doles it out either in loans through the state revolving fund, or they do have some grants. Generally speaking, though, the grants have required there's an income and water utility cost analysis that goes with that, and it's based on the community's income, and then also the rates. And we kind of fall into a funny spot because when you look at the community as a whole, the community's income as a whole isn't too bad. And then you look at our rates, and our rates are pretty darn low. So you know, and we wouldn't have to raise rates to do this. So if we're not having to raise rates to do this, then that, you know, they don't really look at us as where they would ideally like to put the money. They like to put it where, you know, the vast majority of customers are really poor, and the rates are pretty high already for the utility, and doing all that work is going to increase expense. There are also some grants for the customer side when the customer has a lead service on their side. And to the best of our knowledge, we only know of 2 customers that have lead services on their side, and there have been many attempts in the past to get those changed. One is a business, and it's underneath the building slab, and so it would be very expensive to do that one. And the other one is a house, and that particular customer has not wanted to pay to do it. There are monies available to pay for the customer to do it, to pay the customer side, but I think that also has some limitations on income and that sort of thing as well.
So you like this, when you plan to have the business plan together?
I hope to have the business plan, the actual business plan approved in, usually it's November. We try to have it done, late November, early December. So my intention would be to have further conversations on this.
Right.
So there's no voting on this at this point. I just wanted to
Okay.
talk about it.
All right. So we'll target the end of November.
Yeah.
Okay, anyone else have comments, questions? Any other old business?
Not at this time.
Okay. New business.
Their new business, the Water Institute in French Lick. This is the fall-winter meeting of the Indiana section. It is down in French Lick. It's December 6th through 8th. I'm looking at myself, 2 other employees, and then I was going to see if any board members were interested, and also, I guess, verify that the board was all right with us to attend. We would be going down on Monday the 5th, and then returning on Thursday the 8th.
In November,
December.
December.
Summer.
All right, you can all look at your calendars and do you have a date when it needs to be in? Registration?
I guess if you have some interest, let me know sooner than later, because obviously hotel rooms are the tricky part. Registration, we have some time on that, but the hotel room is the part where we want to make sure we get the block rate and all that.
All right, so you have any interest, get to Chris as soon as you can. All right, any other new business?
No, that was it.
Other comments? Any comments from the directors?
Make a motion to adjourn the October 11th meeting of the City Water Board.
I'll second it.
So, we adjourn.
Excellent.